Weddings are supposed to be about love, but for some people, the big day is just a high-stakes fundraiser. We are talking about the kind of entitlement that makes you want to mail back your invitation with a restraining order. From charging guests for their seats to demanding they change their hair color, these couples have completely lost the plot. Here are 55 of the most insane and flat-out greedy complaints people have actually made about their wedding guests. 1. There was a bride who was livid that her 80-year-old grandmother didn't bring enough energy to the dance floor at 11 p.m. The complaint was that the grandmother looked bored in the background of the professional video while the DJ was blasting high-tempo techno music. Expecting a senior citizen to pull an all-nighter for the sake of your high-energy wedding edit is a special kind of delusional. It turns out that not everyone wants to rave until 2 in the morning, just because you decided to have a strobe light and an EDM set. 2. A bitter groom went on a public rant because his cousin only stayed for the ceremony and skipped the reception to attend a funeral for a close family member. He argued that the funeral was for an elderly relative who had lived a long life, while the wedding was a once-in-a-lifetime $40,000 investment. The level of narcissism required to compete with a death for attendance points is absolutely staggering. A wedding is a party, not a mandatory hostage situation where grief is secondary to an open bar. 3. Believe it or not, one groom was furious that his best man refused to take off his glasses for the entire ceremony and the professional photos. The groom claimed the glare from the lenses ruined the cinematic vibe of the shots and made the wedding look low budget. He even suggested the best man wear contacts for the day, despite the guy having a medical condition that prevented him from wearing them. It is wild how some people think they own their friends' faces for 24 hours just because they bought a cake and hired a DJ. 4. We have all heard of the no plus one rule, but this bride took it to a new level of insanity. She complained that a guest's long-term boyfriend was too quiet and didn't contribute enough energy to the dance floor. She felt he was a waste of a seat because he didn't help the wedding video look high energy or fun. Apparently, if you aren't doing backflips or leading a massive conga line, you are personally sabotaging the bride's dream. 5. A bride complained that a guest wore a vintage diamond necklace that looked significantly more expensive and larger than her own engagement ring. She felt the guest was flexing their wealth and trying to make the bride look like she was marrying beneath her station. She actually asked the woman to tuck the necklace inside her dress for the formal group photos to avoid being upstaged by a piece of jewelry. It is fascinating how an inanimate object can cause such a massive wave of jealousy and insecurity on what is supposed to be the happiest day of your life. 6. Imagine staying until 10 p.m. at a wedding, which is a solid effort, only to be blasted on Facebook the next morning. A bride complained that the older guests and families with kids left before the late-night snack was served. She called it a slap in the face and claimed they didn't appreciate the thousands of dollars she spent on the midnight poutine bar. Look, if the party is dying and people are tired, that is on the DJ and the vibe, not the guest who has a babysitter waiting at home. 7. We all know the rule about not wearing white, but one bride lost her mind because a guest wore a navy blue dress that was slightly too close to the bridesmaid's royal blue. She claimed it caused mass confusion and made her guest look like she was trying to sneak into the bridal party for attention. The bride actually spent the entire reception telling other people that the guest wasn't that important. It is a wedding, not a secret service operation where everyone needs a specific color-coded uniform to be identified. 8. This bride complained that a guest with a severe nut allergy was being high maintenance for simply asking the server if the cake was safe to eat. The bride's logic was that the guest should have just eaten a big meal before coming, or taken the risk, because she didn't want to deal with the caterer during her big moment. She literally said the guest was ruining the mood by bringing up their potential death at the dinner table. It is truly peak entitlement to think your wedding aesthetic is more important than someone staying alive. 9. In the digital age, some couples go the opposite route of a phone ban. One bride was livid because her guest didn't use the custom wedding hashtag enough on Instagram during the night. She calculated that only 20% of the attendees posted a photo tagging the couple. She felt like her investment in the expensive flower wall went to waste. because it didn't trend locally on social media. If your marriage depends on the number of likes your friends generate, you are marrying for the wrong reasons. How many photos do you feel obligated to post when you attend a wedding? 10. A bride actually complained that a guest's natural, resting sad face was bringing down the energy of the front row during the ceremony. She suggested the guest wear uplifting makeup, or just look at the floor so the photographer wouldn't catch any vibes of misery during the vows. It is wild to think you can regulate someone's literal facial structure to ensure your wedding album looks like a toxic positivity advertisement. Honestly, would you ever have the guts to tell a friend their natural face was ruining your photos? 11. Imagine receiving an email 6 months before the big day requesting a full brunette transformation because your natural blonde hair is too bright for the earthy aesthetic. A bridesmaid was told her look was distracting from the floral centerpieces and the muted color palette. It is one thing to pick a dress, but demanding a chemical hair treatment is basically asking for a soul swap for a photographer's filter. Would you actually go through with a permanent physical change just to stay in someone's bridal party? 12. Main character syndrome reached a new peak when a couple got furious at a close friend for being 7 months pregnant during the ceremony. The viral complaint claimed the woman was flaunting her baby bump and intentionally stealing the spotlight away from the altar. They actually suggested she wear an incredibly baggy and unflattering shawl to hide the fact that she was literally growing a human. 13. One couple sent out a mandatory fitness goal memo to their entire guest list 3 months prior to a destination wedding. They argued that since everyone would be in swimwear at the resort, they wanted a high-end and athletic look for the group shots on the beach. If you think your friends are just background props for your luxury vacation photo shoot, you have lost the plot. It is hard to imagine the audacity required to tell your uncle he needs to hit the treadmill so he looks better in your wedding album. 14. One groom was furious because a guest showed up in a high-end designer tuxedo when the dress code was clearly labeled as semi-formal. He felt the guest was cosplaying as the groom and trying to humiliate him in front of his new wife and family. He actually spent half the reception trying to stay away from the guy so they wouldn't be in the same photos together. It is hilarious that a man's biggest concern on his wedding day is being outstyled by a guy who just wanted to look sharp and show respect for the event. 15. Let's talk about the shrimp counter who took entitlement to a microscopic level. A woman posted an angry status because a guest ate 10 jumbo shrimps during the cocktail hour, claiming it cost the couple an extra $50 in restocking fees. She reviewed the security footage from the venue to identify the seafood thief and then sent them a Venmo request for the difference. If you are monitoring every individual appetizer like a hungry hawk, you probably cannot afford the party you are trying to throw. 16. Some couples expect their guests to act like professional cinematographers without getting paid a dime. One pair complained that their friends didn't hold their phones at the exact horizontal angle during the grand entrance, which made the crowdsourced video look amateurish. They sent a disappointed follow-up email explaining how the lighting was ruined by poor phone placement and lack of coordination among the crowd. It is a wedding, not a Marvel movie set where your loved ones are supposed to be an unpaid camera crew. 17. Covering up tattoos is common, but one bride demanded a guest use heavy-duty stage makeup to hide a tiny butterfly on their wrist. She claimed the ink clashed with the vintage lace theme and made the entire event look unrefined and edgy. The guest was told they would be relegated to the back rows of the ceremony unless the tattoo was completely invisible to the naked eye. It is fascinating how a 2-inch drawing can apparently dismantle the elegance of a multi-thousand-dollar ceremony in the eyes of a perfectionist. 18. A bizarre complaint surfaced online about a guest who laughed a little too loudly during the best man speech. The couple felt the laughter was performative and took away from the emotional gravity and the staged sincerity of the moment. They actually wanted a subdued and respectful chuckle instead of a genuine, loud belly laugh that echoed through the hall. Imagine being so deeply insecure that you are actually offended by your guests having a genuine good time at your expensive party. Does a laugh really ruin the vibe? 19. A bride went viral for shaming a childhood friend who gifted a $100 check. She actually had the nerve to send a follow-up email stating that the cost per plate was $150, so the guest technically owed the couple $50 for the privilege of eating lukewarm chicken. Imagine treating your wedding like a ticketed event where you expect a guaranteed profit margin on every seat. Is a wedding an invitation to celebrate a milestone, or is it just a mandatory fundraiser for your lifestyle? 20. One couple expressed deep offense because several guests bought thoughtful gifts from a local boutique instead of sticking to the official Amazon registry. Even though the items were actually more expensive and high quality, the couple complained they now had to deal with the administrative hassle of returning things that didn't sync with their smart home system. When you start viewing heartfelt gestures and unique presents as annoying chores, you have officially lost the spirit of the celebration. It is peak entitlement to complain about a gift. 21. A bride lost it because several friends booked a cheaper motel across the street instead of her designated luxury hotel block. She actually missed out on a free honeymoon suite upgrade because the room quota wasn't met by her guests. She had the audacity to send a group text blaming them for ruining her post-wedding relaxation and calling them selfish for saving money. Imagine being so entitled that you expect your friends to subsidize your luxury stay by overpaying for their own rooms. Do you think it is fair for couples to demand guests stay at specific, expensive hotels? 22. One couple went child-free but allowed a nursing infant to attend under strict conditions for the mother's sake. Later, the bride complained because the baby was too cute and took attention away from the flower girl during the processional. She actually claimed the presence of a distractingly adorable infant lowered the prestige of her grand entrance and ruined the focus of the guests. It is one thing to want a quiet ceremony, but being jealous of a literal baby for being charming is a brand new level of insecurity and weirdness. 23. A bride was absolutely livid because a cousin posted a blurry photo of the couple's first kiss on Facebook before the professional photographer could upload the official teaser. She claimed the low-quality image ruined the brand of her wedding and made her look unpolished to people who weren't even invited. She demanded the post be deleted immediately and even considered unfriending the relative for this digital betrayal. Is a wedding a private celebration or a strictly managed PR campaign for your personal brand? 24. One guest with severe celiac disease brought their own pre-packaged meal to ensure they wouldn't get sick from cross-contamination. Instead of being relieved, the bride complained that the plastic container looked tacky on the fine china and made her expensive catering look suspicious to other guests. She felt the guests should have just skipped the meal entirely rather than insulting the kitchen's reputation with a Tupperware box. If you prioritize table aesthetics over a guest's literal health, you should probably just host a photo shoot instead. 25. Imagine being criticized for looking too good at a wedding because you actually put in some effort. A bride complained that a guest's professional makeup and hair were overwhelming and rivaled the bridal look. She felt the guest was trying to outshine her and should have opted for a more muted, natural appearance to respect the hierarchy of the day. It is wild how some people view their closest friends as competitors instead of guests. Why hire a beautiful venue if you are terrified that your friends might actually look nice in it? 26. A couple opted for a cash bar to save money, but became enraged when a guest mentioned the high drink prices in a casual conversation. The bride felt this exposed their budget and made the event feel cheap to the rest of the attendees who hadn't noticed yet. She actually complained that the guest should have just quietly paid the $12 per beer and kept their mouth shut to maintain the illusion of luxury. If you can't afford an open bar, that is fine, but don't get mad when people notice the price tag on the booze. 27. A guest had to cancel at the last minute because of a genuine family emergency involving a hospital visit. Instead of offering sympathy, the bride sent a bill for the $180 steak dinner that went to waste. She argued that the no-show was a personal financial blow to the couple and that the guest should take responsibility for the empty seat regardless of the circumstances. It is truly peak entitlement to treat your friends like a business transaction when they are going through a personal crisis. 28. This next one is truly bottom-tier behavior. A bride complained that her sister, who had literally given birth 3 months prior, didn't fit into the size 2 bridesmaid dress chosen a year ago. Instead of being happy for her new nephew, the bride threw a massive tantrum because the photos would look asymmetrical. She actually suggested her sister wear a literal corset or just stay in the back row during the ceremony. If you value your wedding aesthetic more than your family's health and well-being, you probably shouldn't be getting married. You should be hiring mannequins. 29. A bridesmaid gave a moving 3-minute speech that everyone loved, but the bride was still deeply disappointed. She complained that the speech focused too much on their college years and didn't spend enough time praising the groom's transformative effect on her life. She felt the toast didn't serve as a proper testimonial for the relationship and asked for a written apology from her friend. If you are grading your friend's speeches like a college professor, you might be taking your special day a bit too seriously. 30. A bride spent months planning a specific TikTok dance for the reception and was devastated when the guests didn't pick up the moves fast enough. She complained that their low energy and lack of coordination ruined the viral potential of the video and made the party look like a flop. She even blamed the older relatives for being dead weight on the dance floor during the filming. It turns out that people usually go to weddings to celebrate and drink, not to participate in an unpaid and stressful 3-hour dance rehearsal. 31. A couple actually complained because a family of 4 gave a $300 cash gift, which they deemed insulting. They calculated the cost of the steak, the premium open bar, and the valet parking, concluding the guest had essentially eaten for free at their expense. They sent a breakdown of the cost to the family, suggesting they make up the difference to show proper respect. Imagine viewing your family members as walking ATM machines instead of people coming to celebrate your love. Does a guest owe you a profit for attending? 32. One bride was deeply offended because her maid of honor didn't cry visibly during the ceremony. She claimed that because the bridesmaid kept a composed face, the professional wedding video lacked the emotional impact and raw vulnerability she wanted to showcase on Instagram. The bride actually suggested that the friend should have practiced showing more emotion in the mirror before the big day. It is truly peak narcissism to demand that your friends perform specific physiological reactions for your highlight reel and social media clout. 33. A couple at a destination wedding in Hawaii was furious that a guest brought a large, heavy kitchen mixer to the reception instead of mailing it to their home address. The bride complained that they now had to pay for an extra suitcase or shipping fees to get the gift back to the mainland. Instead of being grateful for a $200 appliance, she called the guest inconsiderate for the logistical burden. If you are that stressed about luggage, maybe just ask for cash and skip the drama entirely. People really can't win. 34. In a move that feels like a bad corporate policy, one bride actually tried to implement a $50 late fee for any guests who didn't RSVP by the deadline. She claimed the extra work of chasing people down was worth a consulting fee, and that guests needed to respect her time as a project manager of the wedding. When you start treating your friends like delinquent clients, don't be surprised when your guest list starts shrinking rapidly. Would you ever pay a fine just to tell someone you are coming to their party? 35. One bride complained that a guest's wheelchair was too modern and clunky, ruining the rustic farmhouse vibe of her ceremony photos. She actually asked the family if they could find a more vintage-looking wooden chair or perhaps just stay in the designated accessible area, away from the main photographer's line of sight. It is absolutely disgusting to view a person's mobility aid as a prop that doesn't fit your theme. This level of entitlement makes you wonder how these people have any friends left at all. Truly bottom-tier human behavior. 36. We have heard of people proposing at weddings, but this bride was mad at a guest who got engaged 3 weeks after her big day. She claimed the guest was stealing her post-wedding glow and that the social media announcement was timed to overshadow her professional photo release. According to her logic, there should be a 90-day blackout period where no one else can experience joy so she can remain the center of the universe. Honestly, how long do you think a bride should own the spotlight after the wedding officially ends? 37. A bride was livid because a vegan guest brought a small snack bar to the reception after discovering there was literally nothing they could eat on the menu. The bride felt this was a silent protest against her catering choices and that it made her look like a bad hostess in front of the other tables. She argued the guest should have just fasted for 6 hours out of respect for her carefully curated culinary vision. Apparently, starving yourself is the ultimate sign of friendship and respect in the world of entitled modern brides. 38. One groom was incredibly disappointed because a guest with a large TikTok following didn't post any videos from the reception. He felt that by inviting a micro-influencer, they were providing a high-value content opportunity that the guest essentially stole by not tagging the venue and the couple. He actually sent a message asking for the raw footage so they could post it themselves. It is wild to think that your friends are just unpaid marketing agents for your personal life and your fancy party. Is nothing sacred anymore? 39. A couple had a strict child-free wedding but was still angry when several parents declined the invitation because they couldn't find childcare for a destination weekend. The bride complained that they were using their kids as an excuse to avoid spending money on the trip and that they weren't being supportive of her milestone. You cannot ban children and then get mad when the parents choose to stay home with them. It is the literal definition of wanting to have your cake and eat it too while making everyone else pay for it. 40. This bride was offended that she didn't receive thank you notes from her guests for the hospitality she provided during the weekend. She felt that the effort of choosing a premium open bar and a gourmet dessert table deserved a formal written acknowledgement of gratitude from everyone who attended. Usually, the thank you notes go from the couple to the guests, but in her world, she was the one who deserved a standing ovation and a stack of letters for simply hosting a party. It is a complete reversal of basic social etiquette. 41. One couple actually sent out an invoice to their guests after the wedding to cover the cost of the chair rentals. They claimed that the venue's basic seating was ugly, so they upgraded to gold-leaf chairs and felt the guests should pay for the luxury of sitting on something so fancy. Imagine getting a bill for $30 a week after you already spent money on a gift and a tuxedo. It is the literal definition of a pay-to-play social event. Would you actually pay a rental fee for your own seat at a friend's wedding? Or just send back the bill with a laugh? 42. A bride was absolutely livid because a guest parked their older dented sedan in the background of the outdoor ceremony shots. She complained that the beater car ruined the high-end, old-money aesthetic of the professional photos and made the venue look like a used car lot. She actually expected the guest to know better and park their mid-range vehicle down the street out of sight. It is wild to think that your guest's personal transportation needs to match your Pinterest board to be considered acceptable for a Saturday afternoon. 43. One groom was furious that several friends chose to skip the optional pre-wedding yoga session he organized for the morning of the ceremony. He felt their absence was a sign of disrespect toward his mental wellness journey and his desire for a unified group energy before the vows. He claimed that because they didn't participate in the collective breathing exercises, they were off-vibe during the reception. If you are trying to micromanage your guest's spiritual state before the party even starts, you are probably overthinking the whole thing. 44. One couple sent out a mass text after their honeymoon complaining that 30% of their guests went off registry. They didn't want the handmade quilts or the thoughtful kitchen gadgets. They wanted the specific $300 designer trash can they picked out. They actually asked guests to provide gift receipts so they could return the items for cash. If you are that obsessed with the brand of your toaster, just buy it yourself and spare everyone the drama. Honestly, would you ever have the guts to ask a friend for a gift receipt just to get the cash instead? 45. Imagine being told your gift wasn't good enough because the color didn't match the couple's new kitchen. One bride complained that a guest bought a top-of-the-line stand mixer in red when the couple had specifically curated a monochromatic gray aesthetic for their home. Instead of being grateful for a $400 appliance, she accused the guest of being passive-aggressive and trying to clutter her counter with a loud color. If you are more worried about the color of your toaster than the kindness of the giver, your priorities are definitely in the wrong place. 46. A couple was offended because several guests didn't stay until the very end of the reception to help clean up the DIY decorations and load the gifts into the getaway car. They argued that true friends should have stayed an extra hour to help save them on venue cleaning fees. Apparently, an invitation to a wedding is now a summons for unpaid manual labor at 2 in the morning. Since when did being a guest involve a mandatory shift as a janitor and a moving crew? How would you react if a host handed you a broom right after the last dance? 47. One woman was deeply upset because a guest asked for a simple Diet Coke at her organic botanical wedding, which only served lavender-infused champagne and fresh-pressed green juice. She felt the request for a mass-produced soda was trashy and disrupted the sophisticated atmosphere she worked so hard to create. She actually told the server to refuse the request so no one would see a branded aluminum can in the crowd. It is truly peak entitlement to police what people drink because you are worried about the visual purity of your party. 48. There was a groom who went on a rant because a guest with a professional-grade camera took high-quality photos during the ceremony and shared them with the family later. Instead of being happy for the extra memories, the groom felt the guest was stealing the labor of the paid photographer and devaluing the exclusive rights to the wedding's image. He actually demanded the guest delete the files and sign a digital waiver. It is bizarre to treat your own wedding like it is a strictly guarded movie set with non-disclosure agreements for your best friends. 49. A bride complained that a bridesmaid had a distracting tan after returning from a tropical vacation 2 weeks before the ceremony. She claimed the skin tone difference made the group photos look unbalanced and patchy next to the other girls. She suggested the friend use a lightening cream or heavy foundation to neutralize the glow for the sake of the color grading in the final wedding video. If you view your friends as color swatches that need to be adjusted, you might be losing touch with reality. Is a golden tan really worth losing a friendship over? 50. It is hard to believe, but one couple was livid because several guests didn't use the custom photo booth they rented for $2,000. The bride complained that the low engagement rate with the booth made the investment a total waste and blamed the guests for being too boring to take silly pictures with props. She felt they owed her an apology for not participating in the fun she had so graciously provided. Usually, if people aren't using a photo booth, it is because they are busy enjoying the party, but she saw it as a personal insult. 51. One bride complained that her cousin's excessive muscle definition was distracting in the bridal party photos. She felt the woman's toned arms looked too aggressive next to the soft, ethereal lace theme of the event. The host actually suggested she wear a heavy shawl in 90-degree heat just to hide her fitness. Imagine being so insecure that you view a friend's health and hard work as a personal attack on your aesthetic. If you were in that position, would you cover up your progress just to make someone feel more delicate? 52. A couple went viral for shaming a check based on the giver's estimated salary. They literally looked up the attendee's job title on Glassdoor and decided a $200 gift was financial disrespect because the person earned 6 figures. They sent a message suggesting that a more appropriate amount would have been at least $500 to reflect their true bond. When you start auditing bank accounts to determine the value of a friendship, you have officially crossed the line from a host to a debt collector. 53. This next one is truly chilling. A bride complained that a guest having a mild seizure during the vows stole the momentum of the ceremony. Instead of checking on the person's health, she was furious that the ambulance sirens ruined the audio for her professional wedding video. She actually asked if the family could pay for the videographer's time to edit out the background noise and the panicked expressions of the other guests. It is terrifying how some people value a perfect digital file over a human life. 54. These newlyweds were deeply offended that their inner circle didn't immediately change their profile pictures to shots from the reception. The woman felt that by not using professional images as their main digital identity, the attendees were signaling that they didn't value the elevated experience. She actually monitored their social media for weeks and sent reminders about the preferred photos they should be sharing. Since when did attending a party come with a mandatory update to your personal branding and online image? 55. The ultimate peak of entitlement came from a couple who sent loss of income invoices to everyone who RSVP'd yes, but didn't show up. They didn't care if it was due to a flight cancellation or a sudden illness. They wanted the exact cost of the lobster dinner and the chair rental reimbursed within 30 days. They even threatened to take their former friends to small claims court for the stolen hospitality. It turns out that some people view their wedding as a legally binding business contract rather than a celebration of love. That concludes our list of the most baffling and entitled wedding complaints ever recorded. It is honestly a miracle some of these couples are still married, let alone still have friends. If a friend sent you a bill for a meal you missed due to an emergency, would you pay it or just block their number forever? Let us know your craziest wedding horror stories in the comments. We want to hear the absolute worst of the worst. If you enjoyed this look into the world of bridal insanity, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the weirdest human behaviors.